I was talking with Walking Fuss last week about this. Is that you guys were so much stimuli coming in, not just audio wise from the insane amount of words and awesome verses, but just visually jumping around. I told Walking Fuss last week that no mere mortal band could follow that. It just you're gonna get on a guitar and play four chord bar or whatever. I'm falling asleep already after the crack cocaine stimuli of watching CAC. And yeah, big shout out to the Widgets. And then that's the thing about that night at Chopsticks. You had the Nudicles, the Widgets open up for you guys, and yeah, it was probably the best move ever because there's really there's no mere mortal band that could possibly follow a CAC show. That's just my opinion.
Well, it's funny too. Well, there's probably many, but especially later on, we got really good about cutting the music off like on the last word, right? So like not even letting the music run. I know Brad talked about just having the songs go back to back, which we did. Speaking of it, I know if you want a funny thing about stuff that I would do just to drive Brad crazy is I would always try to get in one really long story per show. And I know you've definitely heard that live recording that we have. And there's one of those songs, I think he broke it out as an actual track. And that's just me rambling for as long as I can, just because I knew it drove him crazy. And I would do that once every show. I think I'm talking about waking up and watching like Star Wars all day. I would just do that. One, because I needed my breath, right? And two, just because I knew it drove my brother crazy and he hated it. But I liked squeezing that kind of stuff in too. But
well, last week on the podcast, I was mentioning to your brother that, every song was like a 10-round boxing match, just cardio-wise. And that was the beauty of having two of you guys. It was like a boxer having a left hand, right hand, 1-2 punch where you'd be completely exhausted, about to pass out, and then boom, the other guy would take over like a tag team wrestling match. It was amazing.
Well, and that goes back to, kind of like what we were talking about with Matt, where Matt really instilled in me early, one, what to look for and listen for, but also, not boring somebody. And that always stuck with me through songwriting, through any form that's come across. And so with rapping on stage, you start to kind of feel that, where you're like, man, if there's dead space, there's not really much I can do, right? I'm not like still playing a guitar. I'm not doing, a crazy lick on the drums or something. It's like the more dead air you have, there's really nothing to do. And so that was a big part of that, is just packing as much stuff in as we could. I liked the shorter songs, like getting in, getting out. I think very few of our songs go longer than 4 minutes, and that was by design. Early on, we agreed no choruses at all, just because that was kind of a statement on rap in 2000. Rap is just terrible, I thought, and a lot of that was just every song had a bad hook. And there was a lot of, just at that time, Brad and I would spend a lot of time talking about like, man, this song is great except for the hook, right? Like the beat's good, the rapper's great, and they bring in somebody and the hook's terrible. And so we were like, just no choruses. Let's just go back to no choruses. I'll put in like an audio if I want or something, but I don't want to do any of that, didn't want to be like, hey, where are we at tonight? I say yo, you say hey, or whatever it is. I just did not want to. That was not interesting to me. And as a person that goes to rap shows, that's my least favorite part of the show. Like, I don't want to be involved.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean?
I can't imagine how much shit you must have taken over this no hooks policy, because I know Bam, we talked about it quite a bit, and Seth also mentioned it. That was his main question when was doing the podcast with your brothers. Ask about, what was that no hooks? Was that super intentional, or did it just kind of happen? And yeah, that was, you must have heard a lot. I can't imagine how much stuff you had to eat over that. I'm sure everybody.
Well, it's kind of one of those things where, it's good and bad. I think it's part of what makes it different. I think, but also it's bad because it's what makes it different. So when people go to a rap show a lot, that's what they expect. And that was kind of part of that, was being like, well, I don't want to do that. But also, would it have made our lives easier? Yes, absolutely. And that goes back to that whole, like, let's make it challenging, right? Like, how not only one can you fill up a song, but you've got to do it without that chorus. And if you listen to a lot of rap songs, man, there's a lot of filler, right? There's a lot of, I rap for 8 bars and then I've got 16 bars of a chorus. And that's kind of what we heard at the time. And I was like, well, that's lazy. And especially back in that time, you even hear me on Antarctica, we're talking about, you're spending money to listen to music. And that's what's different today. I think a lot of my gripes on that album are so outdated. Because nowadays, if I click on your album on Bandcamp and I don't like it, no harm, no foul. But back then, man, I'm popping $19, right? And you're
Yeah.
giving me the Wu-Tang Clan, the W. And that was a big part of that, was just like, it creates this real anger. It's almost like a betrayal, right? It's like, hey, you guys have been giving me this great stuff. I agree with you. And then all of a sudden it's like there's money involved, and let's do, a song with Missy Elliott. And it's like, well, that's not why we came here. But that was a lot of our response.
$19 in 2000, it'd be like $60 today. It's a lot of money, and that's where the industry was, and the excess, the largesse. And one of my favorite lines from Antarctica is, I work at a record store, I see it every day, and basically I should spend $19 so you can buy a suit and play dress up. That's fucked.
I was feeling that too, man. That's real. That was, and Bam could speak to this too, but just working in a record store at that time in history was really frustrating, because digital was starting to be a thing. Like, we would have a guy that would come in and we knew that he was buying used CDs and just burning them. Like, burning CDs into your computer, that was pretty new, at least to me, around 99, 2000. And you could see the beginning of the end, right? So on our sides, for our jobs, we could see this thing kind of starting to fizzle out. And the record company's response to combat piracy was to raise their prices. And so for us, not only as a consumer did that drive me crazy, but as a guy that had to sell people CDs, that drove me crazy, right? So I have people coming in being like, I could just burn this off of Napster, or you're going to charge me literally $19. I mean, that was our price point at Warehouse, was $18.99 for a brand new CD. And you're talking about a CD that you don't get to hear, that might be bad, and you couldn't return it. And it was not a good time to be there, as far as in that work. But yeah, that's why I have a lot of opinions on that record, just because I was living it, man. And
you guys just at work in there, super tuned in to the not just the industry, but the technological side. This is what Wall Street didn't figure out, because there's a fantastic documentary about Tower Records, where right in this time frame they're trying to expand like Starbucks, and they're raising all this money on Wall Street to open up all these new Tower Records. And it's, how could you not see that coming? And it inevitably collapsed. And luckily in Japan, Tower Records is still there. But nobody saw that coming back then.
I think I definitely watched that from a very, like a different perspective, because I was just screaming at the TV, right? Because I was there. I was living that, as far as like, what are you doing? And we could see it as employees. We knew. I remember vividly, like Christmas '99 at Warehouse, we had people like backed up throughout the entire store to buy CDs. And by Christmas of 2000, not even a rush. I mean, it was that quick, right? And that's in the same time frame that we're doing CAC. They think that album comes out October 2000, I think, somewhere around there, I think. And it was in that year that everything really changed, like, quickly for retail music. And that's what I'm saying. It's kind of a frustrating thing to try to do all that at that time, because you had no idea what was coming. I bought this digital 8-track the year before it became kind of easy to record on your computer, right? If I would have waited like another year, I probably would have been way more advanced. But it just kind of is what it is. But yeah, the retail side, dude, drove me insane.
The greed, people's expectations that it would just keep going forever. Meanwhile, Moore's law is slowly catching up on the technology side, and this is the whole hardware embedded PlayStation recording angle. Hard drives weren't big enough. You could dump a CD in, but you had a 1 gig hard drive maybe, at the time. So, but just the confluence of events leading up, and then the people at the top just blowing all the money. Basically, it's pretty true.
Oh, it's a tale as old as time, right? It's doubling down on the greed, right? Because that they weren't taking pay cuts, but I certainly worked less hours, and yeah, just raising prices. They had all the anti-piracy stuff in the CDs. I remember, like the last couple of years of CDs, they started building in like FBI warnings, and it's like, that's not winning you any favors, and yeah, people just tell me I could literally go burn this for free. It's like, I know you totally could. I have no response for you.
But you're on the beach. You see a tidal wave. There's people in the water with their back turned to it, and they're like, no, we're just keep surfing forever, surfing this wave.
Yeah, and Antarctica used to be. It's a song I go back and forth on, that I was really happy with it when we made it. It became kind of a song that I didn't like for a while. And I've kind of come back to it for that point. It really captures, I think, it sounds funny now, right? I think if you were alive in 2000 and really into music, people liked it. And that ended up being one of our most popular songs. That was the song that people always asked if we were going to play. It eventually became the song that we played last. We tried opening a show with it once, and I remember our friends that went to our shows were like, nope, you can't do that. That was like the song that they waited for. And that was one of the very few lines that people would like yell out, was the "that's fucked" part. It was funny because if people know me, I don't usually talk like that. I don't swear a whole lot in that fashion, but that was just something that happened. That was probably the closest thing we had to a chorus, was me saying once, "That's fucked."
More of everything than you've ever seen in one store at one time. It sounds like heaven. And you'll find thousands of 45 RPM singles. In short, the largest record store in the known universe lives up to its name. Shop Tower Records in the heart of Sunset Strip tonight and every night of the year until midnight. It is a good place. And Tower will have my latest album this afternoon, so go get it.